the whole point of this is to understand deals can be done. You can make a deal work. It's how you structure it. And not taking no for an answer. To understand what you can do. There's no limit of what you can do. It's yourself, having that self-esteem to keep on going. So this was the beginning of the dynasty. My construction company was doing well. We were moving up and up. We needed commercial space to park the trucks, park our equipment, our scaffolds and everything as we were going along. I convinced these owners here, but again, remember, this is the 90s, the late 80s, 90s. You don't have a bank. You're not walking into Chase Bank, you're not walking into any bank to say, hey, listen, I'm in Red Hook and I want to go buy a building. Didn't exist at that time, at all. I don't give a shit who you are. You basically had to have money. The owner of the property was convincing enough to let him know that I was capable of paying, and he held the mortgage. It's the way you carry yourself, the way you present yourself to someone, to understand that that person has to understand that your confidence that you have and the strength that you have in behind you, your self-esteem. Yeah, it might be cocky sometimes, but when you're that person that understands what you want in life, and there's no options, no nothing that's going to turn nothing away from you. That older man saw it in my eyes, saw it how I spoke. I said, I'm going to pay you. And here's the thing, if I don't pay you, I'll sign the deed back to you and you give me no money. See the trick? That's honesty. Not a problem. So when you say that to someone and you write it, let the lawyers write it. I don't care. I'm going to pay the mortgage. Once I stabilize it, I'll get a bank. And I'll remortgage the property and pay you back. When I told that to that individual, 2 days later, he said, okay, let's go to contract. Let's sign the contract. The place is yours. When I bought the place, at that time, I paid probably close to $100,000, maybe a little more than $100,000 for the place, right? My friends, because I born and raised in this neighborhood, one of my friends came to me and told me, oh, you got ripped off, you're crazy. My father could have bought this for $50,000. I actually went home and I was the most saddest thing, I was crying to say to myself, what did I do wrong? I said to myself, I'm getting it, what this guy's telling me, man, the guy ripped me off. And then I realized, wait a minute, he's talking about 10 years before me, 8 years before me. And yeah, it was a drug-infested area. This was all crack, cocaine, drug wars, fights. I mean, Red Hook was one of the worst places in the United States almost, in New York City. Bad, right? We know that. But for him to discourage me, and the fault was mine, I blame myself to let him get in my head. And I was taking, not advice, I was taking somebody's opinion. And I said to myself, so why'd your father didn't buy it? The next morning I woke up knowing that that was the beginning of my life to say, wait a minute, I'm not doing nothing wrong. If I'm buying something and I'm paying a price for something at that moment, that's the price for that time. Yeah, I might have been overpaying a little bit, but there was nothing around. But besides that, the key thing, nobody was selling to me. I'm freaking 19, 20 years old. It's like even today, if you're 19, 20 years old, who's listening to you? You gotta have the right person to listen to you, to believe in you, okay? So at that age, I was able to convince this man to sell me this property. So my options were very limited and nothing almost. So to have that opportunity and be blessed to have that opportunity for that man to listen to me, and I think I gave him, I don't know, $8,000 down. It was very little money down, and he held the mortgage. I continue to pay him every month, all right? Just like every other mortgage. But the key to this was that I was able to make this happen. That's the biggest key to this, is making it happen. No matter what comes your way, no matter what opinions and crosses that come by you to say, wait a minute, I'm still gonna overcome that. I'm still gonna buy it because it still makes sense. Because it wasn't a want, it was a need. I needed to put my business somewhere. I needed to grow. So I needed to be in a place that I can put my equipment in, I can put my trucks in. Otherwise, I wasn't gonna grow. Where else was I gonna go? You're limited, you know what I mean? So this opened up the doors to me. I actually bought 2 more trucks. I actually expanded my business tremendously back in the 80s and the 90s. That it was a little bit of a boom after the 84, 85. You know, there was a little recession, and then it started going back up 4 or 5 years later. So basically, it's also not taking no for an answer and to continue. This is the first piece of property I bought. I was 19 to 20 years old, which is another thing that some people don't even believe, but it's amazing. Again, it comes in Spanish, the cojones, that you gotta have to wake up in the morning and say, wait a minute, I'm gonna do this. And also for you young guys and girls, that you're at home with your parents, that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. Utilize that time that you're in your parents' home because you don't have an expense. You're not paying rent. You're not paying light bill. You're not paying nothing. Don't get me wrong. Help your parents out to pay your, some of the bills. Contribute to the household, which is great. Bank the rest of your money, because that is the best time of your life, even if you have to stay there a little longer, because the amount of money you're gonna save there, it'll take your lifetime later on. So you'll be saving a lot of money staying at home. Utilize that time, take that money, and use that for your investment. That's also what helped me, because I stood at home with my mother for a while. Remember, my father passed away when I was 9 years old. I didn't have nothing. But we were blessed to have a house there that we were able to stay and live in, right? I contribute to the house, and I helped my mother out tremendously. And that was able to save enough money to buy this property. Vacations, cars, jewelry was not in my mind for nothing. It was just saving the money, having enough for down payment. So the whole point of this is to understand deals can be done. You can make a deal work. It's how you structure it. And not taking no for an answer. To understand what you can do. There's no limit of what you can do. It's yourself, having that self-esteem to keep on going. So this was the beginning of the dynasty.